Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to walk through the LG 83-inch Class M3 Series OLED evo 4K UHD Smart TV bundle and try to give you a clear picture of whether this massive screen is really worth your money or just a flashy upgrade that ends up gathering dust. I know buying a TV this size feels like a big commitment. You're not just picking a picture quality, you're reshaping a whole room, you're adding a new piece of furniture, and you're hoping the investment actually enhances movie nights, gaming sessions, and everyday binge watching without turning into a source of frustration. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the main thing most buyers worry about. Does a huge OLED really make a difference in a typical living room, or is it just a marketing gimmick? OLED panels, especially the newer Evo version, are known for self-lit pixels that can truly turn off for perfect blacks. In practice, this means that when you dim the lights and fire up a dark thriller, the shadows look almost three-dimensional. You can actually see the details in the nighttime scenes that a standard LCD would smear into gray fog. That's a real advantage if you watch a lot of cinematic content, especially on services that support Dolby Vision, because the TV can push those extra highlights while keeping the darks pure. But there's also a hidden trade-off. OLED panels can be more sensitive to static images, which means you have to be mindful about leaving a sports ticker or a news ticker on for hours. The M3 series has a built-in pixel shift feature that nudges the image a tiny amount every few minutes, which helps protect the screen, but if you're a heavy news channel user or you have a smart home dashboard that stays on most of the day, you might see a slight risk of image retention over time. For most households that turn the TV off after a day's use, this isn't a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, the size. 83 inches is really huge. In a room that's about 12 feet wide, you'll end up with a viewing distance of roughly 1,012 feet for the most comfortable experience. That's the sweet spot where the eye can take in the whole screen without having to move its head too much. If your couch is closer than that, you might find the picture a bit overwhelming, and you could start missing the subtle nuance because you're forced to scan around. On the other hand, if you have a dedicated home theater space or a larger open-plan living area, that 83-inch canvas can turn a simple movie night into an almost cinema-like event. I've seen people set it up against a wall with a large sectional sofa, and the immersion factor is genuinely impressive. Another practical point is the Zero Connect box. LG's approach here is to bundle a wireless transmitter that handles up to 4K video and audio without any cabling running between the TV and your source devices. In a tidy living room, this can be a blessing. You can keep the box near your soundbar or AV receiver, and the TV itself stays sleek and cable-free. In real testing, the signal held up fine even when I placed the transmitter about 15 feet away, through a couple of walls, and there was no noticeable lag or drop in quality. For gamers, especially those who use HDMI 2.1 compatible consoles, the 120Hz panel is a clear win. The motion handling is smooth, fast-paced games like racing titles feel responsive, and you won't see the typical blur that can make a higher refresh rate display feel sluggish. The downside is that you still need a decent Wi-Fi network. If your router is an older model or your house is saturated with many devices, the wireless sync could stutter during a heavy 4K stream. The 9AI processor 4K Gen 6 does a lot of the heavy lifting automatically. It analyzes each scene and adjusts brightness, contrast, and color on the fly. In everyday use, this means you can leave the picture mode on auto and the TV will constantly fine-tune the image. You won't have to dig through menus every time you switch from a drama to a sports broadcast. However, if you're a picture-perfect purist who loves to hand-tune every setting, you'll find the AI a bit too aggressive at times, especially with bright HDR content where it can clamp the highlights a little early. The good news is you can still dial back the AI influence in the settings menu, but it takes a few more steps than simply turning a knob. Who should definitely consider this bundle? If you're a serious cinephile who already invests in a good sound system and you have a room that can accommodate the size without crowding the space, the OLED evo's perfect blacks and Dolby Vision support will let you enjoy high-end streaming services like Netflix Ultra HD or Disney Plus without a second guess. Gamers who own the latest console generation will appreciate the 120Hz refresh rate and low input lag, especially when paired with a decent